Welcome to Healing with Haley. I'm your coach, Haley Kirk. On this podcast, we dive into ways to heal, embrace, and truly love our lives. Here's my belief. So much of our suffering comes from what we believe. I'm here to help you understand your mind and question those thoughts to start your healing journey. Ready to get started? Let's go. Happy Halloween, everybody. It is 9:56 p.m. on October 31st. I know you guys are probably not going to hear this on Halloween, but I thought I would record a podcast regardless because I am just on cloud Halloween. I had such a fun time. I really went all out this year, like every year, but I went even more all out. I I really love Halloween. And I think that my love for Halloween translates so well into how we can love life. It's just to such a stronger intensity. So let me just kind of preface this. My mom, growing up, was so festive, and I attribute a lot of my love for holidays, birthdays, festivities to her. And I just know that whatever costume, there's so many pictures and home videos, and she would do our hair exactly like the costume. And I'll never forget this one time I was Meg from Hercules, and she spray painted like each strand of my hair that red color. And she just was so detail oriented about everything. And she would do such fun crafts. Like one of my favorite wreaths was this cute witch. And the witch's hair was made out of this black straw, and the face was it was painted so cute. And there was like this little wart on her face. And I loved that wreath so much. And my mom would plan these like Halloween parties, and it was so fun. And I just remember Kendrick and me always having the cutest costumes. And I'll never forget another year I was Mulan and her hair was in a bun. And I saw one of my friends whose hair was like all long and girly. And I got sad because I wanted my hair like hers. And so I had my mom take out my hair because I wanted to be like her. And then you look at the pictures and it looks terrible. It's like, just stick to costume. Anyways, so I really I really want to talk about Halloween because I'm so passionate about it, and I feel like a lot of people are being weary of Halloween, and I know all the conspiracy theories about, it being demonic or dark, which I understand, and I definitely caution you, but here's the thing. I believe what I focus on, where my focus goes, energy flows, right? And so I know that there is dark elements to life, to Halloween, to my day to day. I don't focus on those aspects of my life because I don't enjoy how it makes me feel. It doesn't allow me to experience life in the way that I choose. And so, what I decided to do is, well, last year I had a Dia de los Muertos theme because I have Mexican heritage. So, my mom grew up in Mexico City, and my dad met her on his religious mission. And they fell in love, they had me, and then they moved to the United States. Well, married, moved to United States, then had me. Anyways, I love Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. It's such a beautiful tradition because I feel like it's honoring our ancestors. And I love genealogy. I grew up in the Mormon church, and I love that aspect of that religion is that they take that very seriously. And it's so cool to understand like where you come from and like where your ancestors, like the regions of your ancestors. And it's so interesting, all those things. It's awesome and quite beautiful. And I want to hold on to those aspects because I really enjoy them. And it's so cool. There's so many apps you can use, like Ancestry.com, 23andMe. You can do like genetic tests to find out your own DNA and your own communities of your ancestry. It's amazing. And my relatives were super good at, gathering stories and uploading them to these websites. So now I can like read journals and stuff, and it's super exciting. So definitely gonna do more digging for next year because I want a bigger and bigger and bigger ofrenda. An ofrenda is an offering, and it's a bit of like an altar that has layers, and you put food, you put pictures, you put candles, you put incense, picture frames, all those things, marigolds. So what I did for my house is I have like a Catherine. He's kind of like the symbol, if you will. Like Catherine is to Santa Claus, right? So it's like the symbol, if you will, of Dia de los Muertos, the Catherine and the Catrina. And y'all, I went to Michael's and Target and Walmart and Spirit like so much in the month of October. I just kept getting ideas, and I was looking at the stuff and like putting a mental note like I want this, I want this, I want this. Um, and so I had my papel picado that I put underneath my patio. And then I had my Catherine, he's like an inflatable, and I put him on the lawn. And then I had these pillows. Like I had three pillows that were Dia de los Muertos theme. And then I bought these candles that had like a remote control that I could turn on and off and put a timer on. And then I had these butterfly windmills. I had about six of those. And I had some metal decal butterflies. I had lights everywhere. Oh, I had these marigolds. So I kind of made my own garland marigold. They are so pretty. They're so pretty. Last year, I bought these marigolds that were like cheap looking. They were like plasticky, and I just like, oh, my house looks like a clown house. I don't like it. It's like, ugh, not tasteful. But next year, I'm already planning next year. Whoa, and I went on Facebook Marketplace and I was like, I need like a legit, beautiful big sombrero for the wreath of my house. And I found it, and oh, I was in love with it. I love the altar I made. It's just how I like to celebrate Halloween. I can celebrate it in my own ways, right? I learned some things I didn't like about jack-o'-lanterns. And so what I did instead was painted the pumpkin, right? So I and who knows, right? Like who knows if any of these things that we learn are true. How I grew up as a child, I wasn't focused or in the know about certain aspects or traditions. A lot of the customs of Halloween come from paganism. So it's interesting to know, but I don't really think you have to know to celebrate. I think it's it's the energy, it's the thought that you're putting into what you're doing. So I didn't feel darkness. I didn't feel like I was participating in witchcraft. I mean, if you think about it, the birthday candles that we blow out on our birthday is a pagan tradition. And I don't see people stopping celebrating their birthdays or like blowing out candles. I just think it's interesting. But to each their own, and I support any decisions anyone makes. I think everyone makes the right decision for themselves. So what I took away from this Halloween was truly that just what you focus on is what's going to what's going to come to you, right? So if I focus on, the light and the fun and the festive and the creative parts of it, it's fun. And if I focus on the evil, the dark, the demonic, then I'm gonna suffer, right? And so it's not to say I'm ignoring that it exists. It's where is my attention? Yeah. And it's so interesting. Our brains do this on a day to day. If we truly were to focus on every single thing that flows into us, our brains would just be in overwhelm and overdrive. And so it's actually kind of cool that our brains just focus on a certain amount of things at a time. I'm grateful for that process of like selecting. And I like to help my brain focus on things that allow me to show up as the person I want to be. So yeah, it was such a beautiful house and decoration, and I really love those aspects of Halloween. I love seeing people, get dressed up. I saw all these inflatable like unicorns, dinosaurs. I saw Baymax. It was so cute. I saw the cutest costumes, and it's so fun to see people get creative and playful and fun and and be social and be a community. And I love my neighborhood. There was so many people that were out passing out candy and trick-or-treating, and I just think it's awesome. I think it's really awesome. My neighborhood, and I love contributing and I love being a part of it. It's it makes me feel good. I really enjoy those aspects. I also did some trunk or treats at like car dealerships, businesses, malls, and churches. I just, it's so wonderful to see everyone corroborate together and make something so beautiful for the innocence in our communities and in our world. It's fun to show them the magic and the festivities and the beautiful aspects of the world. I really love that part of Halloween, and I want to add more. And for me, I like to celebrate Dia de los Muertos. It aligns with everything I love. The butterflies represent life, and it's crazy, you guys. Once I started putting up my decorations, and especially when I started putting up my ofrenda with my family members, pictures there, I started to notice so many butterflies coming my way. And my son and I go outside every single day, and it's especially true now. I usually see like a yellow white color of butterfly, but I saw not by my house, but on our walks, I did see like it looked monarchy, but I'm not sure if it was a monarch butterfly. Um, I don't know if they're in this region, but anyways, I wanted to touch on those aspects. And the reason being is because I know that in life, it's very easy to focus on the negatives. It's so easy. I mean, if I can get personal, this year was probably the darkest I've experienced, second to darkest. I feel like I had to do a lot of grieving, and that grieving process was about the reality I thought I would have versus the reality that I do have. And I also experienced an emergency situation with my son, and I started to fear his death because, none of the doctors knew what was happening to him. Luckily, everything's fine, thank God. But that was very hard for me. It was very hard for me. And, there were days I just struggled to get out of bed. And I never knew that struggle until this year. It was very, very tough. But having my son is the sunshine in my day. He's my little motor. He's my little engine. He keeps me going. He keeps me going real strong. And I recently came across this song as I was working out. I listened to, a playlist I got from one of my friends, and it's such a good playlist. And this song by Disturbed, it's called The Light. And the main singer, David Draymond, I just did a little bit of research on him. And, in a concert, he gets all vulnerable and he says, I'm sick of my loved ones or my friends around me dying or losing them to depression and addiction. And then in the concert, he had people raise their hands and say, how many of you have lost someone to alcohol or not alcohol, addiction and depression? And everyone in the concert, it was everyone. It was like, look around you. Like, we all struggle with this. And he was like, my bandmates have struggled with this. And I'll be honest with you, I almost lost my life to this. And it was so vulnerable. And I was like, whoa, wow. That's a very vulnerable thing to share with an audience. And so I was so impressed. And I think that this song, The Light, so let me share my favorite stanza. It says, when you think all is forsaken, listen to me now. All is not forsaken. You need never feel broken again. Sometimes darkness can show you the light. It's so good. Sometimes darkness can show you the light. You guys, there's something so symbolic about like dark and light, day and night. It's dichotomistic, right? And sometimes, in the world of psychology, being dichotomistic or thinking black and white, like they love me, they don't love me, I'm amazing, I'm a loser, it can be damaging. But I think those polarities in life exist. And how do we know they exist in nature, right? And I think they're so beautiful. I think night is beautiful. I think sunshine is beautiful. And even in seasons, right? There's seasons that experience more light, more sunshine than other seasons. And I know that it's meant to be because it is. And what it teaches us, I think, is even more beautiful. And I'm still trying to analyze it and soak it in. And for me, it's this feeling of truth that kind of makes my eyes go wide and like my head get light and my heart open up. That's kind of what truth feels like for me. Like my eyes and just everything's kind of like, whoa. And I even experience chills running through my body and my hair is kind of sticking up, like, whoa, like that feels very truthful to me. And so when I heard that song, I stopped mid-workout and I kept listening to those lyrics and I was like, wow, sometimes darkness can show you the light. And you know what's crazy is every single dark thing, dark or trauma or difficulty that I've experienced, and then I went deeper into it and I learned about it and I healed or are in healing from it. I come out brimming and exploding with light. And I know it's for my good. And one of my favorite authors recently, his name's David Kessler, he co-authored The Five Stages of Grief that we all know about. And then he created a new book, the sixth step of grief, which is finding meaning. And I think that's amazing. That's so amazing. Finding meaning in whatever has happened to you, I think is so beautiful. I think is so beautiful. And I love his differentiation too, because I'm going to use an extreme example, right? If someone were to be murdered, right? It's not that the murder has meaning. It's after that extenuating circumstance, that horrible thing that happened, finding meaning. It's after that circumstance, right? From that circumstance, not in it, because that just feels weird, right? Trying to find meaning in murder. Bleh. But like the after, of the circumstance or the trauma? How are you finding meaning? And I think there are just some really wise, beautiful, enlightened people out there that get to share this knowledge with us. And I just really love the lyrics of this song. When you think all is forsaken, listen to me now. You need never feel broken again. Sometimes darkness can show you the light. You guys, I know we've all experienced some kind of trauma. My friends in psychology, they say little T traumas or big T traumas. And a little T trauma is I'm having a hard time, but I know the big T ones. The big T ones is like a divorce, a death, a loss of a job, loss of a house. Those are big T traumas. War, right? Any kind of abuse would be a big T trauma. Little T trauma is, maybe someone calling you pregnant or when you're not, or anything kind of painful like that could be considered a small T trauma. And it's all valid. It's nothing is, oh, well, that person experienced that crazy thing, so mine is like not important. Everything is important that you feel, and every trauma, every difficulty circumstance is yours, and it's meant to be explored and healed, and it's valid, and it's not too little or not worth exploring and healing, right? So you guys, I hope you enjoy this Halloween season. I hope you find the light in the darkness. I hope that there's so many ideas that come to mind, like Lord of the Rings, when I'm blanking on the elf. She's like a wise elf. I forget her name, but she gives this instrument to Frodo and she says, "May it give you light in the darkest of hours." And Dumbledore says, when we find ourselves in darkness, it is wise to find ways to turn on the light. Oh man, yeah, there's just those elements go in so much literature and history and the Bible. Like, there's so many rich literature out there that it dives into these dichotomies. And I think it's because we all experience them and in these different, intricate, beautiful ways, and we find these different meanings from them. And I just explore you to consider, what have I gone through in my life that was so hard? But had I not gone through that, where would I be? Who would I be? What would I be missing? Another idea that comes to mind is Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, and it's with Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet, I think is her name, the one who does Rose in Titanic. And they're in this beautiful, romantic, deep interpersonal relationship, and then they end up splitting up, and Kate Winslet, I think she's playing, oh, her name. It's like a jingle of a song. Anyway, so she's so heartbroken from the loss of the relationship that she goes to this doctor who's figured out how to remove memories. And it's pretty powerful. That movie, I love its message. It's everything that happens to us is meant to happen and to stay in our mind in a way, and how it molds us into these beautiful people, and how lost we would be without those dark times, honestly. And I also think that I'm using so many analogies, but there's this show, a cartoon show called Fairly Odd Parents, and it's this single kid household where the parents are kind of aloof a little bit and they're funny, but Jimmy, is it Timmy Turner? Timmy Turner. He gets these really cute Fairly Godparents, and the fairy godparents are regulated by the fairy government. And it's funny because the fairy government is gray and they obey the rules. And there's this book that has all the rules that they're supposed to follow. And they don't show any emotion. They all have the same house, the same outfit, the same shoes, the same sunglasses, same hairdos. And I think that's what it's trying to illustrate, right? That being different, having different amounts of light and dark adds that texture and weatheredness to each of us, right? If we were to think like, oh, if you were to grow up like this porcelain doll your entire life, there's not substance and depth and richness and intrigue in that person, right? My another of my favorite authors, his name's Matthew Hussey. He's a dating coach. And he says, I want the weathered version of you. The weathered version is so much more interesting than the perfect version, quote unquote, of you. You guys, thank you again for tuning in. I hope that these ideas are helpful or at least interesting. And eat lots and lots of yummy goodies. Share lots of laughs, popcorn, hot cocoa, yummy, cozy blankie huggies, and snuggles and cuddles. And I wish you all a happy, happy almost end of the year. Thank you for tuning in to Healing with Haley. If you enjoyed this episode, I think you'll love my new 6-week coaching program. It's designed to help women embrace and love their bodies just as they are. Together, we'll explore your thoughts, meet them with compassion, and start releasing the ones that hold you back. Ready to start your journey to self-love? Join me and let's make this change together. Click the link in the podcast description below.